Okay, ladies and ladies. I don't see any gentlemen, so I'm going to say hi to all the ladies. Welcome everyone to the AWEC Business and Entrepreneurship Dialogue series. It's my ultimate pleasure, Olivia Marzuki, to be here with you moderating this wonderful initiative brought to you by ASEAN Young Entrepreneurs Council and proudly hosted by ASEAN Young Women Entrepreneurs Club. We're not just any other young entrepreneurs. We're made of young, bright, intelligent women across the region. I'd like to say hello to everyone. I'll try to attempt to say this in all our languages. So first of all, hello, selamat datang, selamat malam from Indonesia. Sawadee ka, hello to Thailand. Komesta, maligayang pagdating to the Philippines Club. Xin chào, Hoàng Ngân. Am I saying it correctly? I'm not sure. So hello to our friends from Vietnam. Yin dit topap. Hello to our friends, and also my Garla Par from Laos and also Myanmar. Everybody is represented here. I'm so happy to see you all. More participants are coming in, are trickling in. So while we're waiting for them to join us, I'd just like to welcome everybody once again. So we're here to share notes, basically, ladies, to see how we're doing during this pandemic times, crazy times, I know. But we're here to get together and share our knowledge, our experience, our insights, and how we go about doing our business as young entrepreneurs and young business owners through these trying times, and how we bring our enterprises through the next level through dialogue. So this dialogue is the third time it's held. This time our topic revolves around business in a global pandemic world, responding to she session. Instead of recession, it's she session because it's very particular to us ladies. So as we reeling from the impact of COVID-19 pandemic, businesses have no choice. Our companies have no choice but to embrace the new ways of doing business, to be agile, to be innovative, and not to only survive, but thrive in these volatile, uncertain, and complex, ambiguous times. So this session today will discuss about how women entrepreneurs can navigate and overcome business continuity challenges and thrive in the pandemic. We'll be hearing some sharing of experience from four amazing ladies. We have the first speaker from Malaysia. Representing Malaysia is Miss Deborah Melissa Botro. She's the creative minds of her own company, Sienna DMV Sendirian Berhad. And we also have a speaker from Thailand, the lovely Miss Apinara. She's from You Drink 2019 company, a very interesting company. I can't wait to hear her presentation later. We have my lovely friend, Sang Kai Lin from Singapore. She's representing her company, Funnel Limited. And my good friend, Gloria Felicia from Indonesia, representing her company, Sparrow Group, and some other ladies from Indonesia as well. This session will be followed by a Q&A. So yeah, you're welcome to throw in your questions through the chat box, which I'm going to test right now. I'm going to see if you're listening and tuning in, and I'm going to see if you can type in something so we can interact together. I have a question before we move on to the welcoming speech from the co-chair of AYEC. I'd like you all to type in your answer to the following question. My question is, year 2021, the year that we're in right now, do you think that it's one, better than 2020? Is it two, worse than 2020? Or number three, is it the same as 2020? Can you type in your answer? One, if you think that 2021 is better than 2020. Two, if it's worse. Three, if it's the same, unchanged, flat. I'd like to see answers, please, everybody. Right. Everybody says either worse or the same. Okay. It's very interesting to see how relatively pessimistic we are during these times, but I can understand where we're all coming from, which is why it's imperative we have events like this where we can all practically communicate, make friends with the like-minded people across the region. So thank you very much for your answers, everybody. A little bit of a housekeeping rule. Yeah, appreciate that everybody's got their audio on mute. You are welcome to turn your video on so we can see your lovely faces. And at the end of the session, after the Q&A, we'd like to have a family photo. So that would be great if everybody can have their cameras on. Don't worry about your hair. Don't worry about your makeup. No one's judging. And we're just enjoying each other's company right now. So I can see more people coming in. So that's a great thing. That's a great indication. I think we can just pass the floor to my good friend, Sylvia Nguyen. She's the co-chair of the ASEAN Young Women Entrepreneurs Council, Young Entrepreneurs Club, forgive me. Sylvia Nguyen, co-chair of Asian Young Women Entrepreneurs Club. She'll be telling us what exactly the club is and what we do, what we are aspiring to do. So let's welcome and give her a big virtual applause, Ms. Sylvia Nguyen.
Thank you, Olivia. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the third Dialog edition of the AYEC Business and Entrepreneurship Dialogue. My name is Sylvia from Vietnam, co-chair of the ASEAN Young Women Entrepreneurs Club, AYWEC in short, and we're proud to host the event today. Just a bit of introduction on AYWEC. We are a new and growing community of female entrepreneurs in the ASEAN region and operate under AYEC. And our founding members include these amazing ladies that you will get to hear from today. Our mission is to motivate and encourage the spirit of entrepreneurship in ASEAN and to develop a stronger women-owned business community. We're happy to announce that we will soon open the club to community members who can join our network for business exchange and capacity building through our initiatives. The topic of discussion today is business in a global pandemic world, responding to She Session. Why is it called She Session? Many economists have coined this term. As more and more we realize that women are bearing the brunt of socioeconomic impacts made by COVID-19. Yesterday, I attended board meeting for the Vietnam Business Coalition for Women Empowerment, an organization addressing gender equality in the private sector. And I was reminded of how throughout this COVID situation, the gap has widened with unconscious barriers for women across education, healthcare, income, and much more. With work from home, women tend to get much less working time in because of the children also doing online learning at the same time and losing 2 hours or so for cooking and doing housework. In Vietnam, with the 3-in-1 place policy for factories, women are not selected to work as it increases the issues for boarding and they simply cannot leave the children behind. So going through this recession, women will be facing more layoff due to incompetitiveness, a wider pay gap, and less leverage from economic powers due to reduced income. What I'm saying is that what we do as female entrepreneurs move beyond our scopes as industry leaders, business influencers, or inspiring fellow entrepreneurs. As women, it is so important that we help other women grow and get through this She Session together, whether by helping fellow entrepreneurs or people in your community through agility, adaptability, and innovation. So what does surviving and thriving look like to women owning and running businesses in the new normal? I look forward to our dialogue today with these amazing ladies representing different industries, learning about how they spark their communities with their work and how they have overcome challenges in the past year. On behalf of AYWEC, thank you for spending time with us, for listening in wherever you are. I look forward to connecting with many of you through our future events. And finally, from Vietnam, I wish you all good health, good luck, and have a fantastic evening. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sylvia. Thank you. That was an amazing wake-up call that women are bearing the brunt of the pandemic. I think the onus is on us. I think the burden and the responsibilities are on our shoulders. And thank you so much for the wonderful opening speech. We are going to present our first speaker to kick off our session. And we're talking about the path forward to business recovery through agility, adaptability, and innovation. And there's no one better to share her experience than this one particular Argentinian French lady who grew up in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. She is the president of Malaysian Young Entrepreneurs ASEAN Association, also founding Secretary General of ASEAN Young Entrepreneurs Council, or AYEC. And she is now with us in the AYWEC, which is the women one. And she is her own managing director and creative person in her own company, Sienna DMB Sendirian Berhad. So what is exactly her business, which is based in Kuala Lumpur? What is it doing, and how does she ride the pandemic wave? Let's welcome and give your biggest round of applause, virtual applause for Deborah Boutreau. Deb.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Olivia, for the amazing introduction.
I don't have the drum roll, so I made it up. Yeah.
Well, hi, everyone. Welcome to our third dialogue and our first dialogue for the ASEAN Young Women Entrepreneur Club. Okay, she's sharing it. Sorry, I was about to share. Okay. All right. So let's get into it. So I'm going to introduce you about my company, and then I'm going to let you guys know how we are pivoting our business to adapt to the new normal and the economy. So next slide, please. All right, so here's a brief background. I'll give you a quick background about myself. My name is Deborah Boutreau. I am Argentinian French. However, I was born in Singapore and I grew up here in Malaysia practically my whole life. For my Malaysian friends, I speak Malay, and more of my friends like to call me Mak Saleh Celup. So let's go quickly. So how I started Sienna. So Sienna came about, I would say, around 2014 when I started Sienna. Before that, I was working a lot with an e-commerce company under Rocket Internet, Zalora, where I was heading the production department here in Malaysia. And then I went to Mexico and became Latin America head of production. After which, when I came back to Malaysia, I decided to become an entrepreneur and set up my own business. And that's how Sienna DMB was born. DMB has a double meaning, you might realize by now. It stands for Design, Marketing, and Branding, and it's also my name, my initials. Let's go to the next slide. All right, just a quick one about what we are, what we do. So we are a creative agency. We're your one-stop partner for anything creative and digital. We also do a lot of e-commerce consulting because of my background in the e-commerce industry. And I jumped straight into design because that's my passion, and that's where I was trained as a graphic designer here in Malaysia at the Lim Kok Weng University. Next slide. Here you can see quick about our process and how things run. So what we do is, and my most important thing is always the first one, which is called discovery. Reason being is that this is where we really get to the in-depth of what our client wants, what they like, what they believe, what they're trying to achieve, so that we get a great depth and understanding of what they're doing. I am involved in every single project that comes into Sienna. And that's where I believe that it keeps us unique and strong. Keeping all the designs, moving away from using anything copyright, any templates. We don't use any of that. Everything starts from the pencil, then it gets designed on the computer. Next slide. All right, here's to share you a quick success story. It's one of our big projects when we first started Sienna. This was the ASEAN Business and Investment Summit in 2015. This was when Malaysia was ASEAN chair, sorry. And we had designed this logo for the entire event, and we did the website, the logo, the program book, the invitations. But the big highlight, I would say, which you can't really see, which is a photo on the bottom left, that's actually Barack Obama. That was the closest picture I could get because security was very, very tight and we weren't allowed to go very close. But for us, it was a huge, proud moment to have Barack Obama standing in front of all our, concept design and branding. Next slide. And this is to share at the same time when this event happened is when we actually first launched our ASEAN Young Entrepreneurs Council in Kuala Lumpur in 2015. It was a huge event for all the founding members because it took us about 3 years to get to this point. And we are also ever so grateful to ASEAN Business Advisory Council because they guided us and they incubated us for the first 2 years. As you can see now, we're 6 years old. And our structure and formation is exactly like the ASEAN Business Advisory Council. Next slide. Share with you some work that we've done. So we've also done all the branding for the AYEC, the AYEA, the Carnival, and our latest one, the ASEAN Young Women Entrepreneurs Club, and many more. Next. Here you see some of our different kind of work. This is actually for an aqua culture or aqua farming place here based in Malaysia. It's really interesting. And they actually, the first product you can see at the bottom is eel. You didn't know eel has a lot of benefits for our health. Next. This is for Fraser Valley. It's a place in Malaysia as well, where they have like houses and fishing and things for families to go and visit and spend a weekend or just, get back to nature. Next. This was for Sports Academy, where they are doing an academy for young boys from the age of 10 to 16 that want to start a career in football. Not necessarily a career in football as a player, but in sports, physiotherapy, and so on. Next. Okay, here's where we get to the main depth of the topic. So I'm going to share with you how our business is pivoting and how we're embracing the pandemic. Let's go to the next slide. This is based on research found from McKinsey, which I found really precise. So it says, what is good for gender equality is good for the economy and society as well. So the COVID-19 pandemic puts that truth into stark relief and raises critical, important choices. Next slide. So by advancing women's equality, you can add actually 12 trillion to global growth. So basically, if we all come together and hire women in our company, we'll be contributing to the global GDP. Next slide. So first point. So before the pandemic, this is quite interesting and actually is quite shocking and sad. So before the pandemic, McKinsey's report has stated that by 2025, 12 trillion could be added to the global GDP. Now, because of the pandemic, that has moved 5 years later to 2030. And not only that, it's gone down by 1 trillion. So it's only actually 11 trillion by 2030 that can go to GDP. Women's jobs make up 39% of global employment, but they account for 54% of overall job losses, which actually means that women's employment is dropping faster than the average rate, which is really scary. And another factor could be that COVID-19's disproportionate impact on female entrepreneurship, including women-owned micro-enterprises in developing countries. So this is actually very specific to ASEAN countries. A lot of micro-enterprises are run by female women, and they are the ones that are deeply, deeply affected. Next slide. So to prepare for the post-COVID-19 era, leaders need to do more than fine-tune their day-to-day business. We need to rethink and we need to know how we're operating and why is our business even existing? And can we even pivot? Next. So these are, everybody knows this, these are current challenges that everybody's facing. We've got retrenchments, people working from home. Some love it, some hate it. Majority don't, unless you're super disciplined. Otherwise, your productivity level goes down. Opportunities are low because networking is down, travel restrictions and lockdowns. Next. So how is Sienna DNB pivoting and moving forward? So as you already know, Sienna DNB is based here in Asia. We service clients domestically and internationally. We are expanding bigger into the international market. We're growing our team. We're creating partnerships with industry experts. We are appointing independent sales representatives and business development representatives. We are also appointing and working with experts, freelancers and all. We have also created a platform for anyone to be able to earn an income without the need of any capital expenditure. And we're in the midst of building our marketplace. It actually has been in the working for a few years, which is going to be a creative marketplace and community for all creatives, providers, talent. And it's also going to be the platform in Asia where anyone who's looking for creative talent can go onto this platform and look for talent easily, also in a very uniform and organized manner. Next. So here's our family. How do we grow? So first, let's look at the first point on the left, which is global partner. So we're partnering with big partners. For example, our recent partnership is with Catalyze. They are based in Australia, and what they do is they bring companies globally. So you could be, say, a brand and you have a product, or you have a really great innovation that solves a big problem and you're only based in one country, but you need help to expand your business into many other countries. Catalyze will do that. Country directors, you represent the country of your residence, you represent Sienna, and you will help, to get clients, sell the business. We have introducers, you bring us clients, you get a percentage. We have creative executives, we're freelance skilled people, web developers, designers who don't have access or cannot access big clients because they are a freelancer. So therefore clients would not trust integrity as a freelancer. They need to work with companies. So we give them that opportunity to come into our Sienna family. We will train you and guide you in how to manage and create projects for big clients. And last, we have equity partners who want to come and invest into Sienna. You can become a shareholder and a director. You can be involved in day-to-day activities, or you can open a new market, say, for example, Sienna London. Next slide. So who can join Sienna? Anyone. As long as you have grit, you have passion, and you have a sense of humor, please. We want to have fun at work as well. This photo is to show even a mom who's working from home, she can build her own success and her own stability working at home with Sienna. Next slide. So we have Sienna DNB. So in this pivoting that we have done, so what we're doing is wealth sharing. You don't need to have capital. We train you and guide you, and you also get commissions. Next. So what are the benefits? You get experience, you get exposure, you can network with all our Sienna family internationally. You get training from us and myself. We have wealth sharing and a lot of income opportunity. You've got knowledge sharing in the creative industry. And also we do a lot of CSR. We give back to the community through our Sienna Foundation program with all our collaboration partners. Next. So this is what I explained earlier. It's a bit more elaborate. So you can see here some from partners and country directors in ASEAN region and other countries. We acquire new customers. Sales representatives can learn new ways. You can also learn how to become a sales representative digitally. I know that many salespeople are finding it also very difficult now during this pandemic to get any sales because everything is online, which can be challenging if you're not sure of the ways of working it. Next slide. So where are we going? Where are we basically? So Malaysia, as you can see, is the headquarters. We are in some of these countries and we are looking to enter some of these countries. So if any of you are interested, to represent or push your country, just put your hand up. And you'll see in the next slide, you have our contact details. Next. So you can contact us here. We've got all our information. I believe that what we're doing now with Sienna and pivoting into a more open platform where we bring in and we would help to train talent and to become more professional in managing. This way, the business is going to grow globally. We're adapting with times and we're pivoting. And I find it super exciting as well. And we're super happy for anyone to come and join our family. And of course, women, you're more than welcome to come and join us. Next slide. And that's all. Thank you, everybody. Hope it was a easy presentation for you to catch.
Thank you so much, Deb. Yeah, super creative. We really enjoy that presentation. It's just like eating cotton candy. Everything is like feast for the eyes because they're so visually attractive, so visually appealing. And who knew, right? Demand for digital and virtual content and design can take off like this. It's like it takes a pandemic to really, take your business to the next level. And like even things like virtual backgrounds. Who would use this like 2 years ago, right? But
yeah, exactly.
There we are. So thank you so much. Lots to chat about later in the Q&A session, but that's pretty much all the time we have for Deb this time. We are going to introduce the next speaker. She's a very interesting lady. Growing up in Bangkok, she joined her family company, Asia Insurance PCL. And I understand that the ASEAN Young Women Entrepreneurs Club are open for any lady entrepreneur under the age of 45, but she is actually under 30. So she really sets the bar. Like you can be as young as possible to join the ASEAN Young Women Entrepreneurs Club. So this young lady, but very talented young lady, has a very interesting venture. And she launched a very eye-catching business, and she's about to do her presentation now. So I'd just like to introduce this lady. Please give a big round of applause for Miss Apinara Srikarchana from UDrink 2019 Co., representing Thailand. Big round of applause, Apinara.
Hello. Sawadee ka. Hi. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we can.
Hi. Sawadee ka. So I'm Apinara from Thailand, and I'm honored and very excited to be speaking here today and joining all of you. There's like 82 participants, which is so positive for Women Club in ASEAN. And of course, it's great to be here to share and also to listen to other people's experiences of women going through the pandemic. So let me just guide you through for 5 minutes of how I've created this business. So UDrink I Drive was created in 2017. So I've been doing UDrink I Drive for 7 years now, and in this September, we have reached our 8th year. So after I graduated my master degree, I joined my father insurance company. And of course, insurance company is a very regulated industry and business. And he gave me an assignment. He said, can you make insurance less boring? Because insurance was so boring. And when I joined, I was probably the only female employee, if I'm not the daughter of the company owner, then I'm probably most of our employees that are women are in accounting and are in assistant of managing directors. They do not play key roles in the industry. So I realized that the disparity of women in workplaces are at large in Thailand. And so with that assignment, that how do you make insurance less boring, our company, Asia Insurance, was predominantly cars insurance, not life insurance. So of course, with a lot of accident, I told my father that to make a good insurance, you have to make insurance of the future. A good insurance company helps stop accident on the road before it happened. We should not be aiming in losing our profit and revenue in trying to pay for the accident of our customer. We should instead focus on how to help decrease the accidents that are going on in our country. And of course, as you can see on the slide, Thailand was number 2 in the world for the most dangerous road in the world. Not including traffic, we are number 1. We've beat New Delhi for 4 years in a row. It's not something that I should be proud about, that we're number 1 for the most traffic jam in the world. But we are number 2 for drunk driving as well in the world, which is really sad. No, so with out of the accident that took place in our country, 40% are from drunk drivers. Mostly the victims, I know it's really bad, Olivia. I can see you like really stunned with the figures. You will not imagine that when I started the business, I went around doing the research. And of course, we did not have government backups. We weren't welcome. So we visited orphanage and we realized that, wow, most of the young children in our countries are traffic accident orphans. They became traffic accident orphans overnight because one drunk drivers crashed into their father, who are just selling steel pieces or selling street vendors food and are on the way home at around 3 a.m. And then there's this teenage or there's this guy or lady who were out drinking, suddenly just crash into them. And then the mother had to give up their job. And then most of them had to leave school because the mother's salary alone could not support the child. The mother ended up in prostitution most of the time. And the children end up as traffic accident orphan overnight. This really stricken our economy, and you will not imagine that in Thailand alone, the government spent 232,000 million Thai baht a year. And if you've been to Thailand, most of you would have been to Thailand, you would realize that with that amount of money, Thailand could have built 2 Suvarnabhumi International Airport. We could also build 6 BTS SkyTrain. If you have visited my country, you would have used our public transport. But we have too many orphans and we have too many social problems that are caused by drunk driving. So that was the beginning of our thesis at university. And that was the beginning of how I met my partner, who was doing this thesis at Chulalongkorn University. And then we together, two women, created this company. So I'm from the insurance background, and for her it was the research that she has done. So when I started doing this business, I tried to hook up with the Health and Welfare Ministry, and I was 26 at that time. Now I'm 32. So I walked in to the ministry, and then they pointed at me. This adult pointed at me and said, "You know, we're a Buddhist country, and you girls are creating businesses that encourage people to drink. This is very sinful." And for me, having lived and studied abroad and everything was by choice, I was absolutely discouraged. I was like, "Wow, who are you? You're like 50 something working in the government, and you just walk up to me and pointed your finger at me and say," they actually asked me to leave. They say, "Can you justify how you doing iDrive is not encouraging people not to create more sin in a Buddhist country?" So what I did was I stood up and I told that person, and it happened at the Ministry of Health and Welfare in Thailand. And I told that person, I said, "Excuse me, I think that people who drink, people who smoke sorry, the slide is a little bit too fast. I'm just saying that people who drink and people who smoke are not bad people. They're not sinful people. Thai people love going out to clubs. We love partying. Okay, we probably have one of the biggest water festival that everyone flew in to entertain themselves, and of course alcohol are circulated. You're just not accepting the reality that the only problem is that Thai people do not have the alternative in lifestyle. They are forced to drive home drunk, and they are forced to not abandon their car. And of course, car is luxurious, and people think that leaving their car at a parking lot at the club, it's not something that is safe. So they force themselves drunk driving home. Most of the people who are drunk driving in the country are the top 15% in the country. They can afford a better alternative in life. They can pay for service like You Drink, I Drive, but it's just that you are directing the issue in a wrong way. So we aim to change alcohol drinkers' behavior in Thailand to enjoy themselves to the fullest and to look after their own safety and our society safety as a whole. So to the next slide. When people ask me, why do you create this business? I thought about the marketing. I was very young and I don't go out to party. I'm terrible drinker. I don't know how to drink, but my partner is the opposite. She loves drinking and she parties, I think 4 times in a week. So I'm sorry the slide could not be changed into English because it was PDF and the file was too large. But I just want to say that when I created this business, we thought of 2 CEO that should be 2 women, because 2 women working in a night business is very important. 2 women trying to accomplish the decrease in the number of drunk drivers in Thailand is an achievement that most men neglect. And they think that it's impossible to be achieved by, wow, this girl graduating abroad from a good background, and they think that it's privilege for me to be working in this industry. But actually, I thought that doing a startup for me, such as You Drink, I Drive, you have to think of your business as a painkiller. Sorry, Dao, I'm not seeing the slide anymore. The slide is gone. I think for You Drink, I Drive, we thought that our startup should be like painkiller, not like a vitamin and an additional supplement that you take daily. Why? Because if you are a painkiller, when you go out to drink and then you get drunk, or you had fun and you didn't plan how you would go home, it felt like you have a headache and you need to find an immediate alternative solution to sort yourself out. So I wanted to be like the paracetamol business to the industry. I wanted to be the painkiller. I need to know that your pain point was that when you drink and when you enjoy yourself, you didn't have any ways to go home, but You Drink, I Drive. I wanted our business to become the first alternative that most of the people in Bangkok and in Thailand think about. So that's how You Drink, I Drive became famous. So after that, to the next slide. After that, You Drink, I Drive grew in the first year 200%. We started off with 1 driver with 1 trip, and we've became like the national father. Our driver is dressed in a blue neon suit. Why? Because we came out with so many colors of our uniform. Pink, our Thai male customer would go like, that's really gay. Like, I don't want to use service that comes in a pink jacket. If I use orange, it was the same color as the fire department in Thailand. So everyone thought that it would like, I was sending like some firemen like to the pub. And khaki color, the military color, was for the foundation that was picking up corpse and dead body from an emergency or an accident scene. So we can't use khaki color either. And black was the same color as a limousine service. So neon blue was the color that we chose because it was a color that was neutral and it symbolizes heroic. And why the blazer? We have tried t-shirts and we have tried tank tops, but the blazer looks the most premium and people trusted our service because the service started at 500 baht. When you go into the car and our driver comes, the first thing you experience is wet towel and our own personalized cold water, refrigerated, and you would feel that you're almost in a limousine. After 3 years, we had enough money to develop our own application. And of course, being so low tech as I am not a tech savvy person at all in the company. They actually gave me a title, not CEO, but Chief of Low Tech Managing Director. So they gave that my partner, we have a male partner, and he also came up with our application. He said, hey, Apinara, why don't you play our application? And when I picked up my phone, I was frowning and I went blank for 3 seconds, and he said, that's it. This version doesn't work. And I said, how do you know that it doesn't work? I was just frowning. And he said, it doesn't work because can you imagine you're not even drunk and you're already frowned in the first 3 seconds? That means that the user interface of the application is horrible. Drunk people in a concert or in a rave cannot even pick up their phone and actually focus on their screen and try to press and book a driver. If you are sane and not even drunk and you can't even manage our application with a 3 touch of your fingertips, it means your application is terrible. So with that title, Chief of Low Technology Director, I became the app developer myself. So we drove around Bangkok with Google Maps and we mapped every single streets and narrow soy. If you come to Bangkok, you know there's like soy Nana, soy Sukhumvit. There's so many soy in soy. It's like a small street in our country. So we've put a satellite on our car and we start driving our car at night until 5 a.m. and we blocked our own location. After that, we made sure that customer, no matter in whichever mental stage you're in, no matter what gender you are, you can, of course, in Thailand, we're so open, male, female, LGBT, we're so open about this. No matter what gender you are, no matter what education you receive, you have to be able to use You Drink I Drive application. It should be that easy. Afterwards, when our company grew to a certain size, after 2,800 trips per month, we have an insurance. Insurance was the pivoting game of our business because in Thailand, car is luxury. Car is like second home. Most car of women, they have, I think like 5 pair. Our customer, when I did the survey, they have like 5 pair of eyelashes and 3 high heels, 1 yoga mat, and laptop. I think one of our customer called us at 5 a.m. the next day and she said, hi, I'm really tipsy now, but I can't find my perfume. And I still remember that these were the research that we went in depth with our woman customer, Thai woman in particular, of how their car is their second home, and we really need to consider insurance and all the liabilities and all the safety of a woman. And I even have like mother calling in at 9 a.m. and said, oh, my daughter didn't come back didn't come back last night, but I called You Drink I Drive for her, but my daughter didn't come back. Like I went to her room at 9 a.m. and she went to her friend's wedding wearing a lot of diamonds, and I don't know where my daughter is. And we said, no problem, we have Google tracking, but this is customer confidential. So the mother sent in her national ID. We verified that it's her real mother, not some prank call. And then we told her mother that the last place that she was at this condominium. And then the mother said, oh, that's her best friend condominium, so that's safe. So she sent our driver back out again to pick up her daughter. from her friend's condominium, and she particularly choose female driver. And in our company, 30% of our driver are female driver, because I wanted to tell all of you here that female driver is an amazing growth segment. You would not imagine that most male customer prefer female driver, especially sports car, luxury car, and hypercar. If you name it, McLaren, Lamborghini, I have sent male driver who is 6 foot tall and quite large size weight. Once the driver arrived, they could not get into the car because the car it's like as flat as my compact powder packaging. The car is so small that only female driver can fit in. Female drivers drive car better, more conscious, more comfortable. So it's much more preferred. And like I said, most father booking for the daughter or the boyfriend booking for the girlfriend, they always prefer female driver. So in our application, we also have the driver favorite button. And when the customer call us into our call center or book us through our application or website, we go by their nickname. So we say like, hi, Olivia, or hi, Sylvia. Welcome back, and do you want your same driver? And we try to schedule the same female driver that picked you up yesterday, or we try to schedule because sometimes like your house, you cannot imagine that most girls after partying, they have no clue where they put their Chanel bag, and they don't even know where their house is. So my customer, like they always go like, my house is next to that tamarind tree, and they expect their usual current driver to understand where her house was. I have so far, it is the customer experience that that kept me alive through the pandemic. It is all these feedback that I have. I have a pregnant wife coming out in the morning, receiving her husband at 10 a.m. and she why me, which is the way we pay respect in Thailand. She said, thank you so much. She is 6 months pregnant and her husband works in a Japanese firm where they drink quite often and they entertain clients quite often. And without you doing our drive service, they would have not, she would have not been pregnant in peace. She thanked our driver every single time that we sent her driver home. Also, our company is doing CSR with Toyota White Road. We train our company. I don't think the slides work because the file might be large, but can you pause here now with the slide? So we also deliver we not only train our driver with Toyota, we train with Mercedes-Benz, BMW Thailand, Jaguar and also Range Rover. We train with buses and public cars and transport as well. And we train in all kinds of condition, raining, sometimes I even sat in the car by myself during my early days. For the first 2 years, I've interviewed all my first 100 driver by myself. I sat in the car making sure that when the traffic light changes from yellow to red, do they slow down? If your driver is too brave, it's like hiring a pilot that is driving an airplane with like 200 passengers. And if your driver is too brave when they make decision over traffic lights, they are not qualified to be working in our company. And after 2 years, we then shift to online examination, because of course, like it was physically demanding for a girl like me then to interview 100 of people every night. So I started interview at 8 p.m. and I always come home at around 2 a.m., 3 a.m. and then sleep and then wake up 9 a.m. to go to the bank and cash out petty cash for my drivers and everything. So it was very difficult. So we changed the driving evaluation and qualification to pure online. Even my doctor friend tried to pass the exam online and he only got 60%. Our driver have to pass the examination of the roads and direction in Bangkok at 85%, then you are qualified to drive for You Drink I Drive. After 5 years, we've then diversified to a personal driver on demand. We have now diversified because of the pandemic, of course. When the pandemic hit us, we have been suffering because pub and restaurant have closed down. 0 trips in one day. So when the government announced on television, in Thailand, everyone stay home. Imagine 2,800 trips dropped to 0 in one day, with 700 drivers in our platform. It was a huge challenge for the pandemic. So what I've did was that we diversified to, as you see in the slide, we opened 24 hours, but we've done garage pickup service. We've done hospital lifting for those who want to go and have their COVID test, or they want to go and check if they have their fever or not. And for those who want to travel to suburb and leave Bangkok to go and stay in the countryside, we also deliver children to school because their parents can no longer send their kids to school during COVID. And we also do airport and limousine pickup service. And it is because of the trust that were built 5 years before that we were able to survive the pandemic in the first year. Later, for this second year, when the pandemic hit us, I would say the situation has worsened in Thailand because last year, Thailand is almost number 1 to number 3 in the world for combating the pandemic number increase. But this year, we are probably one of the worst in the world. For the first year, people are not so scared. Drivers can come to their houses. But for the second year, because the virus has spread to young children as well, we have changed our driver service to monthly service. So we've not only do criminal records check for the driver, we also send a driver to check if they had COVID, if they're infected. If they're not infected, they go through interview exams. And after the interview exam, we send the interview files to the customer to reach them for the final evaluation. If they're happy with the driver, we then recruit them, and then we send them to our customer homes. So in our second year, we realized that most of the people do not use car during the pandemic because we don't go out so much. So we offer the dealers to pursue and persuade the customer to service their car by having our driver picking up the customer car at home, leaving their keys in the car, and we just go there, knock on the door and pick up their car and service their car. This is the service that we service our customer. We have the ozone cleaning in the car as well. We try and diversify our service as much as possible. We also sell our service voucher advanced, so that when the country is once open again, people can come back and use our service. And in that way, we are able to gather the customer income from our customer, from our loyal customer. Of course, most of the people always top up money in their wallet, but they just double it, triple it, and waiting for You Drink I Drive nighttime service to be operating again. This is how we've survived the pandemic so far. So as you said, you can go to the next slide. This is the daytime service. So as I say, it's a tough time for everyone, but You Drink I Drive is surviving. And I hope that my business inspired all of you in the community as well. And thank you very much. If you have any question, let me know.
Wow, Apinara, thank you so much. Inspiring is an understatement. We are just blown away and so baffled. And yeah, it's such an eye-opener. Thank you so much for the amazing presentation. We, of course, want to hear more, but we are giving the opportunity now for the next speaker. So let me just go straight to her. Sung Kai Lin, she is the co-founder and chief investment officer of Funnel. So she's leading the group's corporate development division, responsible for the development of the new business units. She was also representing Funnel's commitment to increase access and liquidity in the private capital markets. So it may sound a little bit foreign to many of us, but she will share what her business actually does. And she's also known as the Vice President of the Singapore FinTech Association. So representing Singapore, let's welcome Kai Lin Seng, everybody. There you go. Hi, Lin. Floor is yours.
Hi, everybody. Just give me one sec. I'm just going to enlarge this first. Okay, hope you guys can see it. Thanks for having me here. I'm just going to keep it short and sweet. I guess for funnel, because we are a fintech, so like more digital business, some of the learnings I have is probably more towards inward management, managing teams and so on and so forth, less on managing, I guess, the macro trends of how we are seeing. So maybe just to give like a brief introduction. So I used to work in banking, so JP Morgan, CIMB, and Citi, and specifically in investment banking, and that's where we operate as a financial intermediary, because banks are very big. But for what I was doing, we are focusing on providing capital for large companies, listed companies specifically, on tapping on capital, whether it's in mergers and acquisition, issuance of shares, or any debt products. In the course of my work, that's when I realized that there's a very big gap in the private capital markets, and where that is 90% of the economy is operating in, basically the SMEs community. What happened is there aren't, what we see as a gap is that we find that the unlisted market, so if you are you run a bubble tea shop and you need capital to start a bubble tea shop, right? So where do you tap on the capital, essentially? And for the SMEs or micro SMEs, the way they tap on the market is very difficult because the market is very inefficient and ineffective. And when I was working, I do see a lot of parallel on like as a financial intermediary, if you're big enough, there will be enough banks to service you. And then when you're small, there are very little alternatives. At the same time, a few of my friends were starting out as an entrepreneur, and the gap is increasingly stark for me, because actually what we are doing in investment is similar. If you can scale down the operation and reduce the time spent on each fundraising process, and leverage on technology, essentially. And at the same time, all over the world, regulations has changed, and that allowed companies or founders, entrepreneurs to tap on capital via online platform, with the increase in internet penetration across the region. Singapore, I think Malaysia as well, also started rolling out equity crowdfunding guidelines. In Singapore, requires securities crowdfunding. Different country has different regulation framework, but what happened is with the framework, with the changes in regulations, it allows platform like Funnel to emerge, where we actually leverage on data and technology to screen through companies and also offer private investment opportunities to our network investors. And that's how I started. And that was in 2015. Still working on the problem on how do we address efficiency of capital allocation in the private capital markets. And this is essentially our core purpose. Our core purpose, interesting enough, has not changed since 2015 when we started the company. So it's been 6 years. We have always been really focused on solving the efficient distribution of capital, and thereby generate employment, spur economic growth, and build nation. We tackled this by mainly addressing two problems. One is access in the private markets, and second, liquidity. Because in order for more investors to come into this market, whatever they invest in need to have some sort of liquidity event. Traditionally, if you invest even in a tech company or in a brick and mortar company, for instance, like a restaurant, very hardly you can find exit event. Usually 6 years, 7 years, or 10 years maybe for you to even exit your investments. And because of the lack of liquidity, it has also restrict investors, small investors, from being exposed to private companies as an alternative investment class. So fast forward 2021, we are probably largest private investment platform in Singapore. And this is probably our track record since we launched. So we started in 15, but officially launched in 16. And this is proud. I mean, I'm pretty proud that we have done about 500 plus mil of transactions through the platform. We are operational in 4 countries, so Singapore, Malaysia, Indo, and lately India. And in terms of, and these are some of the awards that, interestingly enough, we got it this year. And yeah, so I guess that's probably it. In terms of, I think for Oliver mentioned exchange. So on liquidity, we also have set up an exchange, which is under a separate branding called H Exchange, but it's part of our group, where investors could invest into shares of Grab or sell shares. If you're employees of shares, we would like to reward. Basically, employee shares are pretty common in especially tech companies, early founding team, and so on and so forth. And if to build company, probably offer shares then because it couldn't afford much then. And you're probably stuck with those shares for a very long time. We also set an exchange to actually provide liquidity for early investors as well as employees who have took part in the journey in the growth of the company. And I think that has been set up and rolled out actually during the pandemic. And I think the greatest challenge is that a lot of things that's supposed to happen pre-pandemic doesn't happen the same way when you're rolling out new products during pandemic. And that's probably how I would like to share in terms of how we dealt with it. Of course, I would mainly address the problems to 2. One is internal, when we are rolling out new products. One is internal, and then one is external, right? So basically how our business clientele has been affected, and one is internal. At Funnel, I think that for any company, the most important asset is people. And so for me, I think I will focus more on the internal side of things. First, how do you make sure that your internal team are equally highly motivated during this period? Historically, in the past, I do fly often, very often, to our Malaysia office, Indo office. So I would probably meet everybody. But these days, in the last 18 months, I obviously have not met everybody that was hired during this period. And there are people who left during this period that we didn't say goodbye. And I think this is, again, dealing with the change in how we are working in the new post-pandemic world. What happened is that when the lockdown happened in Singapore, our team culture is quite strong. We actually have team gatherings at least once a month at the office and so on and so forth. And the shock in terms of not coming to a physical office across the different office, I do feel like from a culture perspective, no doubt probably affected everybody. So how we work around it was that we actually changed everything into making sure that there are daily checkpoints. We call it the stand-ups, where everybody will come in and update everybody from a departmental perspective, such that each departments are aligned on a daily basis, and you don't feel like you're working with like just a computer, but you're actually working with people. We also moved every channel. So we used to have WhatsApp, emails, and so on and so forth. So now, because to ease the communication overhang, we've moved everybody to Slack, and to ensure that there's also some mental segregation between work and non-work stuff. And some of the interesting, I think one good thing is that we always leverage on crowdsourcing ideas. So one of it is, of course, having game nights, yoga, digital yoga session. And I would highly recommend you guys to try Gather Town, because what happened was there's this thing here where everybody has an avatar and you just walk around as though you're in the office. So that's what we use. So it's quite interesting because like all these ideas doesn't come from me. So it's basically always listening to your staff, right? And then one of them actually recommended this. We tried it out. So now we do have this on a weekly basis. And this is quite interesting because nowadays we are not in the office, and every time we want to have a meetings, we have to always arrange a timing, calendar invite, so on and so forth. So you lose out in terms of actually knowing that these people are also humans, and every call become very transactional. And for Gather Town, what happened is it mimics the whole setting of an office, in case you guys haven't tried it before. And if you walk, you have an avatar, you can like ask them to, you can just walk around. And if you are close enough with another person, you can hear them talk. So you are essentially like walking around in a real office, but in a virtual setting. And I thought that was pretty interesting from a adapting perspective. We also have made a lot of changes over the last 18 months in terms of how we work, essentially because regulations change all the time. Deborah would have known from a MCO, non-MCO lock. In Singapore, we call it circuit breaker, semi-circuit breaker, and so on and so forth. And I do think that during this period, it's about making sure that you always listen to what people has to say, take into account and speak to other people, other founders as well to adapt. So I think some examples that are presented, when at the start of the lockdown, we did a 50-50. So some people go to the office and some people don't. And what happened is a lot of the group meetings then, we have it virtually. For us, we use Google Meets. And we didn't realize that actually until I spoke to my other founder friend that actually it's less effective if you have half the people in the office and half the people dial in virtually. What happened is the half in the office will overtake the conversation and we stop hearing suggestions or hearing voices from the people who are coming in online. And that's how we actually started changing and then making sure that actually it's better to be all virtual. And so on and so forth. And all this have changed over time. And it's really about adapting, making sure that making sure that we can find all these different tools that we have. Most of them free. Gather Town is free too. In terms of doing that. And in terms of culture, how we kept it intact was ensuring, obviously, from a phase 2 perspective, we did like sponsored lunches because the maximum gathering was 5, and so on and so forth. And this is how we try to make sure that different people do still meet other people within the office, such that the culture is intact. On the work front perspective, last year operationally, it is better for us because now that people cannot meet physically and across border, we do see a spike in terms of company reaching out to us to actually look at their capital raising, helping their capital raising exercise or tap on alternative platforms like ours. I guess the other side of the platform would be investors. From an investor's perspective, they were slower to deploy, and because of that, we did basically lower our fees during last year. And while the operation has increased as a company, we do have lower fees and to help with this pandemic situation. And that's something that we did in effect to lower the cost of such capital raising exercise across board for entrepreneurs themselves. And I think coming this year, when we launched the exchange, everything is done differently. Just to share, like in the past, you probably would have like press launch conference, as in press session where you invite everybody coming in, launch. Everything is done digital these days, and was for me quite interesting from a learning perspective. And I also do realize that in the past, when we are doing business development work, because when we travel, it's always easier to keep in contact with people. And because nowadays, obviously we can't travel and everything is virtual. It took me a while to adapt to this new norm in terms of actually meeting my mentors, my mentors or advisors digitally. But it's necessary to ensure that we remain connected. I think there were a few months last year where because of the entire switch, it was just pure work, and these sharing and BD connection stuff took a really back seat until I took a step back and realized that while this is not ideal, I do advise entrepreneurs themselves to actually do keep a good balance, because I feel like in the pandemic world, we're always very siloed and we could miss out the bigger picture. Yeah, I think that's it. Try to keep it short. I think the lasting parting word is this is a rocket ship. So two things on why I put this here. So one, obviously, as an alternative platform, I myself also you can actually invest in space extra platform. And these are some of the very alternative private companies that we do help in terms of helping them achieve goal. But more importantly, why this rocket ship is here, because one of my mentors do give me a very good analogy in terms of running company that I would like to share. So imagine, okay, I'm not sure that you can see. Imagine this is Earth and this is Moon, and how do the spaceship go from Earth to Moon? So usually at first I thought it's a straight line. Obviously that's the wrong answer. What happened is that when the rocket is launched from Earth, they actually took a lot of correction paths. So the path is actually like that. And it just keeps self-correcting to reach Moon. And essentially more important is that the ship is moving rather than the ship is moving in the wrong direction. And I think for a lot of entrepreneurs who are struggling during this period, do ensure that you understand. Do ensure that it's okay to move wrong. It's okay to move in the wrong direction, because you can always correct them. But it's more important to ensure that your team is all right. You're moving in a singular direction, not that the fire booster is going somewhere else and then the driver wants to go on the left side. And that's, I think, will be tougher for you as a journey in terms of entrepreneur. And that's it from my sharing. Hope you guys took in. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Kylan. I love that analogy, like the rocket ship going to the moon, especially we're still seeing the full moon right now. Happy Mid-Autumn Festival. Yeah, the moon is pretty clear, so the trajectory may go zigzaggy, but we know where we're headed, and as long as we're headed to the right direction, I think we're on the right track. Thank you so much for your awesome presentation. I love it. I can totally relate to it because I'm based in Singapore right now, but I'm originally from Indonesia. So I'd like to introduce our last but not least presenter of this session. She's my good friend, Gloria Felicia. Just a brief introduction. Glo is a startup founder with more than 10 years of experience in digital agency. So she has worked for various startups based in the US and Singapore. She's also a thought leader in the field of software design, brand management, and now overseeing the strategies and operation of the brand portfolio managed by Sparrow Group. So let's give a big round of applause, virtual applause, to Gloria.
So, thank you, Olivia. So I'm going to share my screen here. I hope you guys are still excited.
Gloria, yeah, okay, there you go. Now we can see your pretty face.
All right. Okay, can you all see my screen?
Yes, but your video kind of goes in and out. Not sure, but it's okay. Just keep going.
Right. Well, you guys don't really need to see my face. So tonight, I just wanted to share some of my insights. And I know that it's been a very hard time for most small businesses and conventional businesses that are not running in the technology world, that are not exposed to anything digital. So I think last year and this year has been some of the most pivotal years and traumatizing years for many business owners, because they have to think in order to survive for the next few years or so, because the pandemic is its impact, it's quite permanent. It's no longer temporary. So with that said, with Sparrow Group, we are running in the fields of media, technology, health, beauty, and wellness. So the way we have innovated in the past 2 years is that we shifted from running our digital agency to running this full digital agency services for our own brands. So we decided take it all in-house and start releasing our own brands and our own applications as well, the websites. So we're actually exploring the reseller management platform idea, partnering up with Paxel and many other logistics companies. So right now we are in the midst of transitioning from building products for our clients to building products for small businesses so that they can be connected to resellers and be able to export abroad. So that's what we're trying to do. And we're also into NFT. We're also into blockchain technology. We've been doing a lot of R&D in terms of creating blockchain applications and helping companies to innovate, just consulting with companies who need innovating. So if you guys want any advice from me personally or the team, feel free to DM me on Instagram on Gloria Felicia Official. So there will be me and the social media manager answering your questions there. So no worries. So yeah, we consist of many brands in our portfolio. We have real estate here in Bali, Indonesia, and a few other e-commerce brands like Wonder Beauty, Sona, and soon to launch Resell Pass, which is a platform that helps out small businesses to export their products and find resellers. So yes, here I am representing the Indonesia team, Olivia, as the host for tonight's event. And she's humble, very humble. She's actually a journalist in CNA, and she's a wonderful businesswoman as well. And here we have Dea, our board member as well from Indonesia, and Shinta. So tonight, I just wanted to share a bit of our team here from Indonesia. And first of all, thank you again for the opportunity to share. Yeah. So for Olivia, the way she's been innovating in this pandemic situation is that, correct me if I'm wrong, Olivia, feel free to jump in at any time. But Olivia here is the co-founder of Indonesian Professional Speakers Association and OMG, our learning center. So she's been training many public speakers in the past, whether that's students, business owners, professionals. And during this pandemic, everything has to go online. So all the trainings and the national certification process, it goes online. And all the trainings has been done digitally, and that's how the business innovated. And during the Zoom presentations and all the trainings, the changes between the offline and online, I would assume, once again, Olivia, please add some points if you would like. But the challenges obviously has to be in terms of the persona, building your persona, knowing how to choose the words correctly. Those are the things. Sometimes the body language does not translate well online, but I've seen Olivia's business thrive even in this pandemic situation because all the participants are able to be trained in terms of the choosing the words correctly and the body language as well, and so on. So Olivia also has a home spa business, which has been running since 2009, based in Bandung. Now it's fully present in many cities in Indonesia. So the way Olivia's business here, Amara, I've tried myself actually. I'm a longtime customer as well, and have recommended it to many of my colleagues I think you guys here as the audience can also think of ways how to innovate in this pandemic situations by thinking of business model that does not need a physical building, that is on demand, that is real time, because that way, even as a small business, you can actually thrive in the situation. Because if you have a core business model that does not depend on the opening hours of the malls, right? That's not dependent on the a supply of a certain products, and that you have full control of how to run your business, then your business can very well thrive in the situation. Olivia is able to create a business model where the therapists actually come based on a real-time, on-demand clients' requests. And this way they are able to scale up despite the pandemic. So I guess the takeaway points here for all of us as women business owners, if any of us has a side income or any side hustle and small business to run right now, and it's growing, and you want to grow it further, then I would definitely take some time to reflect how the business model is currently set up. So does it have to involve, once again, a physical presence, or what ways in digital world, in cyber world, that you can bring your company presence online, so that people can buy any of your goods or services using social media. For example, there are so many good friends of mine who are restaurant owners. The way they innovated during this pandemic is by selling on-demand catering services, right, for families, for their friends, and whatnot, and voila, it becomes it's no longer a small business because of the power of social media. They're able to scale it up that way, turning into frozen food line businesses as well. That's a huge trend during the pandemic. So there are lots of ways to innovate, even if you have a running spa business that's dependent on a physical salon space. The business owners can also look into releasing some brands online, whether that's through Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, or many other platforms, because free marketing always rules in the game. So right here, we also have Shinta. Shinta works in the interior design industry, and the way that she's been able to maximize on the opportunity instead of the problem, right? A lot of people feel like they're stuck in this situation. They feel like because of the pandemic, my revenue is going low and my income is close to nothing, and I feel like I have to close my business. That's not always true, because when we take the time to really reflect and think of our business model carefully, think about how we can distribute our products in other ways, there are always ways to change, to always achieve a better results. So here, Shinta, the way she does it is that the maximizing of digital platforms. So number one, take part in the virtual business networking. That includes online trade show for physical products like interior design goods, like the furniture, tables, and handmade decorations. Those have export potential, and if we think creatively, there are a lot of ways to actually market these goodies, right? Not only through networking, not only through renewing the websites and taking part in international virtual trade show, which we already mentioned. Online handmade goods and furniture companies can also look into creating a B2B supply chain network through by partnering with agencies, and also partnering with technology startups that actually help out with exporting, importing, if we look closely, there are many of them already, even in Indonesia. Soon, Resale Pass obviously will be in that category as well. But there has been Gurita and other startups in Vietnam and Thailand as well, doing exporting and making it so much easier. So here we have another example, Dea. Dea is the founder of Rentik, and Rentik is a fashion rental and buy app. It's similar to Rent the Runway, but it's an Indonesian version. And they've been doing very well because of the idea of, based on the core business idea that people can rent instead of buying expensive fashion items, right? So in that case, going back to the business model, I think the key takeaway for tonight, if I can summarize from everyone's presentation, is that we definitely do need a strong core business model that does not need physical space, that can be brought internationally to the internet, and also that can scale up tremendously, and not only be of a certain market cap because of the physical limitations. So in this case, Rentik, they have been able to innovate using social media strategy, building a very strong base through social media challenges done in TikTok and the IG Reels, and following the trends, because it goes back to how a business can do well during this pandemic and beyond, is by not only having a strong business model, but also knowing where the customers are. So to be able for us to know where the customers are, every business owner, I think, should know how to analyze the trend. So how we should analyze the trend is to actually use Google Analytics and other digital marketing tools. There are so many free tools out there. Even if we want to do free marketing, we can also use SEO generation keyword tool. Keywordcollector.com is one of them, and many other ways to actually scrape off data of the internet so that we know what's actually trending, right, for our business to grow. So that way we can grow using very little budget for marketing and doing it very effectively. So yes, here we are in terms of the business model of Rentik as well. For the users, they're able to actually rent 8 fashion items for only 30 Singapore dollar. It's quite cheap as compared to buying an actual fashion item, right? So in that case, they already have a business model that does not require physical space to rent, like a mall, a shop, or an office. They can simply have a warehouse where they hold all their fashion assets and also rent it out to users, so that in that way the users can be from anywhere in Singapore, Indonesia, Malaysia. There's really not a boundary there. So yes, it goes back to Spare Group. So how we actually is able to innovate. So back then, I've already realized in 2017 that the future of work will not require an office building, and that the future of work is us working from anywhere, whether that's designing, coding, even doing accounting and administrative work. We can simply do it from anywhere with the help of a good structure, good business model, and good system in place. So fortunately enough, I've been running my agency that way. So everybody has been working from home since 2017, 2018. So it's not too much of a shift for us. And this is the mind frameworks that I suggest everyone to use in this year and beyond, is to actually shift from reacting to creating, from from merely just following sudden trends of how the market behaves, according to FOMO, right? Starting a hand sanitizer, like toilet paper business, to actually creating long-term value that people really, really need. There's a reason why a wellness brand and the wellness tools related to self-care surge during this pandemic since the early 2020. It's because people are in financial insecurity and people are facing this huge amount of uncertainties. And it also applies for businesses, even big businesses. We do face the same uncertainty more than ever before, but it doesn't mean that we should follow everybody else, right? So instead, we can adopt the abundance mindset, thinking that there's enough, more than enough for everyone to take a piece of the market pie. And it's never too late to actually innovate internet-based and user-centric endeavors, whether that's an app that your guys are launching, whether that's a social media strategy, whether that's a new business model or a pivoted business model. It's always a possibility. So in our case, we realized that media should come first because everybody consumes content in this pandemic situation. And we shifted all our products into media first brands. So in this case, we have movies that we're creating on the OTT, like Netflix and other streaming platforms, books, and the YouTube channel as well. So I guess with that said, I know it's a bit over time, but I just wish everyone good luck. And I believe that this pandemic brings us a lot of opportunities as well as problems. But behind every problem, there is opportunity. So thank you so much for the opportunity once again. If you guys want to follow us, please go to Asian AYEC. And yeah, namaste from Indonesia. Thank you, guys.
Namaste and love from Bali, from Glow. I'm so jealous. I'm so envious that she's working remotely from the island of gods. But yeah, thank you so much, Glow, for the amazing presentation and for being our voice to represent myself and other young entrepreneurs from Indonesia. So thank you so much. I have been really touched by the stories that you share, and also Deb and Kailin, Apinara, you guys have all been very inspiring. We're taking this opportunity to let the participants ask questions. Some of the questions have been typed out earlier, and they have been addressed by our good friend, Sylvia. So thank you so much for the questions. Let me just highlight one question that's addressed to Deb. How do you engage, Deborah, with your clients in the past 2 years, and how to suggest more work when their own work and expenses are heavily scaled down or affected? This could be helpful for all agencies. Deborah.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, that's quite tricky, to be honest. To be very frank, when the pandemic first hit in 2020, it hit me double hard because I was pregnant, almost about to pop and give birth. I worked until literally that I was not allowed to work anymore, because clients were dropping, because the first thing that they did during the pandemic was stop creative. And they all thought that they could do it in-house. And I think that's basically when they realized that doing it in-house could only reach a certain level, that they came back. So what we did is, with some clients, we worked out sort of like a retainer on how to work together and work together through this pandemic and how we can help one another. And then your question of how did we get clients in the past? The beginning was working on retainer business. And then the second way was how we're pivoting our business, was to work with freelancers as well, giving them the opportunity. And after the pandemic sort of settled in the sense where people had a more sense of like, okay, this is the new way, we need to adapt to it, what can we do to make things better? We were then able to elaborate and explain, how would I say? So what we did is we went more digital, and we explained to people digitally on social media the importance of, you know, good design, the importance of branding, why the messaging is so essential, why you can't just simply put 2 boxes and a circle and say that's my image and that's the logo of my company, why so much research is needed behind it. And when people started to understand and see this, they started to understand the importance of working with a strong creative partner and working with clients who were really in difficult situations and working a payment program with them. It really helped. I hope that answers.
Hope it answers your question, Sylvia. Thank you, Deb. We're taking the next question, perhaps the last one if there's no one else throwing any question. It's for Kailin about trend for investments. Ooh, talking about money here. How do we make more money in these trying times, Kailin?
Yeah, I mean,
as a fintech expert.
In my business, because we operate in illiquid type of, because these are all private companies, yeah, or funds that invest into private companies, and the trend really ties in. So I just want to give the risk warning first that, you know, these are all slightly high risk investments through our platform. In terms of trends, I think over the years, having operating funnel in like 5-6 years already, there's always new trends that the investors are chasing. But I wouldn't recommend that be your own investment thesis. Always invest into something that you're familiar with. If you're familiar with e-commerce, then, you know, look at the e-commerce stocks, or let's say you're in creative business, do look for, you want to invest into another creative business, something that you're familiar and passionate with. I think that would be my main advice. In terms of like large trend that we see this year, I think last year we do see, last year I think the trends are very telling because of pandemic, right? So the money all went into telemedicine, healthcare type, and then you see a drop in terms of travel and hospitality. This year we do see like a reversal to norm in terms of where the money and capital has been flown in the venture capital world. I think start of this year really more into, I think late last year when there's some level of continuity, we do see people investing back into invest tech. I think because that's a reflection of what we're doing now. People are stuck at home, so people are dabbling with stocks more. And of course, crypto-related type companies have also been rather popular through our platform. And I think going forward, we do see like a more norm in terms of where we see. And I myself are hopeful for a travel tech type company to come back into the mix as we are looking back into recovery.
Great. Thank you so much, Kailin. One last question for you before we close the session and ask Fatin for a closing speech. One last question is, what are the prerequisites for startups to acquire funds from your company?
So for us, we actually evaluate about 50 parameters, and there are ranges from the team management, traction, financials, industry, and commercials, basically how you were looking at valuation. So there's no one size fits all approach. Generally, from a founder perspective, we do support our founders from Series A onwards, just because too early stage, we have not enough data to crunch through in terms of analysis. And we do, so generally, I would say that some sort of product market fit after you have some sort of product market fit. Yeah.
That sounds awesome. And for sure, we can continue this conversation offline. And if you want to follow Kailin on her social media, you can find her on Instagram as well. Everybody here has Instagram. So let's connect, let's do connect. And for now, let's turn our videos on so we can see our pretty faces. And I would like to once again invite all the ladies and one gentleman, I can see one gentleman here, to have their videos on so we can take a family photo very soon. But before we wrap it up, I'd like to give this opportunity to Fatin Arifin for a closing speech. Welcome, Fatin, and thank you for being here. We'd like to hear your takeaway, key message to wrap up this session. So Nurliana Fatin Arifin, she's a standing chair of ASEAN Young Entrepreneurs Council, also for ASEAN Young Women Entrepreneurs Club. Fatin.
Thank you, Tia, for the full name. And thank you to Deborah, Apinara, Kailin, Gloria, and Sylvia for the insightful sharing of your journeys and also your entrepreneurial stories. Colleagues, ladies, and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good evening. Thank you for attending this session today, which is our third session for the ASEAN Young Entrepreneurs Council Business and Entrepreneurship Series, which is an online dialogue series that we started this year, which aims to promote exchange of insights, knowledge, and approaches to running resilient enterprises. So we are a leading network of young entrepreneurs organization across ASEAN, which we set up in 2015, where our aspiration is really to become the official voice of young entrepreneurs in the region. And this year, in July, we established the ASEAN Young Women Entrepreneurs Club, AYEC, as we know it today, to provide a platform to support our women entrepreneurs to network, learn, and exchange opportunities with one another. I feel incredibly inspired by the journeys and stories of our passionate speakers today who are braving the entrepreneurial world. And as someone who has been there myself, I can attest that this journey is really not for the faint of hearts. So I just wanted to actually take this opportunity to bring your attention to an important statistic. The Global Entrepreneurship Monitor reports that there are about 61.3 million women across ASEAN who own and operate businesses. So that's about 10% of the ASEAN population. However, a majority of our women in the region operate businesses in the most disadvantaged sectors, predominantly in agriculture. Even those specializing in industry or services tend to concentrate on a limited number of activities, such as catering, tailoring, beauty, and food processing. Reality is, women-owned businesses often lag behind male-owned enterprises in terms of size, productivity, and also tend to be less profitable, with little potential for further expansion. They are also less resilient to the impact of adverse economic shocks, including COVID-19 pandemic. So our aspiration at AYEC is really to see our women entrepreneurs in the region thrive and be able to realize our potential together, and hope that we do our part to provide the platform for exchange, learning, and growth. I strongly believe that with collective effort and intention, we can make this century a century where we see more of our women entrepreneurs rise to operate competitive, sustainable, and profitable ventures, as demonstrated by our inspiring speakers today. So I wish you all the best, and thank you for joining us today. Over to you, Olivia.
Thank you so much, Fatin. Girls, boys, ladies, gentlemen, we've come to the end part of our session. I wasn't expecting so many male turnouts, but thank you guys for coming. And I hope you enjoyed and feel inspired by the sharing session, by these amazing, amazing ladies. Can we have all our videos on so we can take a family picture? Big ASEAN family. I understand it's very frustrating that we can't travel. We can't go to Brunei and have Fatin host us, as she is the standing chair for AWEC at this time. But yeah, let's be grateful that we still have this platform, at least to still check in on each other and to basically be there and be part of this growth and journey together. And just to wrap up, female can be an agent of change. I am so optimistic that we can also be a symbol of resilience and growth. So thank you everyone for coming. Let's all take a photo together. My name is Olivia Marzuki, and I'd like to see a big smile from everyone here today. I hope to see you again in the near future in our next ASEAN event. So everybody, please smile. Okay, first page, second page, and third page where nobody's turning their videos on. That's okay, understandable. But thank you everybody for coming. Do stay in touch with each other. We are all on social media, so check out the official AYEC Instagram handle, and you can find us there, and also our Facebook page. So yeah, for those who have missed the live Zoom session this time, you can always catch us on our YouTube. The recording will be uploaded once we wrap up. So thank you once again, everybody. Please do take care, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you again very soon. Good night.
Thank
Good night,
you,
everybody.
everyone.
Thank you.
Good night.
Wow.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Take care.
Take care. Stay safe and healthy.
You too, Matet.
Yeah. Bye, Patin.
Bye. I think we can stop recording already.